Yeah, so first of all, welcome guys to first of my series here, the Tradie Success Webinar Series. And I thought to kick it off, it might be best that we introduce each other a little bit, so at least you understand what sort of businesses you're in, and I guess call it the 20-second, what's your industry, speciality, number of staff, and we'll just go around the few of us that are here. Kick off, Barry. You're always you're my top left man.
Okay.
Give us your 20 seconds of your business, mate.
All right. Barry from Element IT. There's four of us, including me. And most of you guys, we are on the road and go to the customers. So we have a lot of the same issues as you guys would.
Yeah, g'day guys. Simon from Local Air Refrigeration Air Conditioning. I was in business about 20 years in Geelong, but recently located to the Gold Coast and just setting up shop up here.
Yep, g'day everyone. Tim, we've got a plumbing business, Wilkin Plumbing up in Hamilton, and there's 5 staff, including myself, and we've got an office person as well now. So we're just trying to juggle all that sort of stuff. It's all new.
Hi, I'm Hugh. I'm a videographer and photographer. So just moved down to Geelong, spent the last few years in Melbourne, and started up my own company called Mountain Duck Media, so in the creative space.
Hi, I'm last yet. Hi, Mick from MP Plumbing Solutions. 2 staff now, and myself, operating around Geelong.
Hi everyone, my name's Kerry. I'm from Pivot City Plumbing with my husband. We're around Geelong. We've got about five guys, and then myself in the office. And I'm just looking to take on another office person, doing just general maintenance, all that sort of stuff. Tim, would have been good to know about you the other day. We were looking for someone up in, James had to drive all the way up to Coleraine to do a job, which was a bloody long trip. So
it would be from Geelong.
So yeah. I'll make sure to jot your number down in case we ever get any more up there.
So I'm Paul Howley from DigSafe Geelong. We do cable locating, ground penetrating radar, non-destructive digging, and drain cleaning. The business has been running about 10 years, I suppose. I've been here about 6, but I've probably got over a decade in this industry. Our clients range from civil construction through to, I guess, major projects and down to commercial and domestic works as well. So
I guess that gives a bit of an overview. I've come up with I'm going to share my screen again, with a bunch of starters. The wording, will increasing prices lose customers? Will charging customers more? Are you leaving more money on the table? Is it an issue around charge up or cost plus or set prices? Want to do another whip around the room again. Okay, well, what is the topic with respect to pricing that you want to bring up and discuss, and the bits of, is it the margins you can get, or is it competitors? Is it what? I want to make this webinar all about let's deal with your issues, because I know that I don't think I'm out of school here, but say Barry does a travel charge, but we're struggling and charging enough to recover that, and then and a variety of people will have similar issues. So I want to sort of let's hone in on those and find out what I can do to help there, but also what you other people involved in the call might have learnt along the way that could help each other. To me, that's a big win. Who wants to kick off with probably a key topic that they want to be able to hone in on and see if they've got a big question on? Do you want to go first, maybe Tim?
In the regional, everybody knows everybody. We know all our competitors. Hamilton, we probably service a region or a district of 25,000 people. We probably service a 100-kilometre radius from our base. We work for a lot of farmers, do a lot of agricultural work, and they're pretty miserable, and they're happy to drive around in a Sahara Land Cruiser, but when it comes to charging travel and things like that, they'll balk at it, or they'll think you're a bit dear. So I've sort of found myself the last few years probably looking at an invoice at the end of the job and going, shit, I reckon that's a bit dear. I'll probably need to discount that, or I find myself doing favours for them, but then in the same breath, we've realised we're pretty niche and we probably should be charging a premium for our service.
Right, I'm going to put you up there, Tim. So it's all about travel charge and how to pass it on to the customer.
Yeah.
Let's go. Barry, do you want to go next? What's your topic? And then we're going to come back and try and deal with it, okay?
I don't know how to put that into a category, but our biggest issue is we bought a phone number from another IT business that was retiring in Port Arlington, which is about 35 minutes drive from here. And we only put a $50 call charge on there. Quite often we go get the equipment, bring it back, do stuff on the workshops. Like sometimes that's four trips to 35 minutes and we're only adding $50 onto it because we're competing with the locals. So it's hard for us to put any more on than the $50 because otherwise they're just going to go grab the backyard guy who's around the corner.
Yep, cool. Who's next?
Yeah, well, I guess I'll jump in there, Hugh.
Sure.
Just in regards to travel charge too, I guess in my industry, everybody sort of charges the call out, which sometimes can be very low, and then they'll charge per 15 or per hour on top of that, and then they'll charge travel as well. Pardon me, or it's all incorporated, so you get quite a different few prices. So if you ring someone up, they might say, "Oh, it's $180 to get us out there," and that might include either the first 45 minutes, the first 30 minutes, and the travel. Or you might get someone who says, "Oh, we only charge $100 call out," but then they put their travel and everything else on top of that. And I guess it's coming up with something simple for the customer so they don't have to work too much out, and but also be competitive as well.
Yep. Thanks, Simon. So it's travel. Hugh, where are you at there? I know you got problems on this one too, haven't you?
Well, yeah, maybe even just following on from that. I do a lot of my stuff. I quote what I think it's going to cost me and do it ahead of time. But putting on the quote at the end of the day, whether you break it down into putting travel time onto it, putting editing time for me, time on site, equipment, or whether it's better just to have the total figure and not have the breakdown. Just to hear your thoughts on that.
Cool. What do I call that? Breaking out travel is one. It's an interesting one. How about you, Paul, mate?
So I've sort of, as you said, a bit unprepared, but I guess for us, I've been in this industry 10 years now, and I see we're charging very similar rates now to what we were 10 years ago. And that's kind of industry wide. So that's for us, that's one of the challenges is when you look at what we spend on some of the gear. I mean, our most recent purchase is about a $700,000 truck. So to try and go and explain why we're not going down to the market, if you like, or the rates that some of our competitors are going to, with the difference in the gear, getting that across to some of the clients can be a bit tricky from time to time. As in, you've got people wanting, a rate for a $300,000 truck to be the same as one for a $700,000-800,000 truck. So that's a challenge for us. And that's a challenge within our business as well, because we've got both extremes when it comes to our equipment. We've got, a really expensive capital outlay for one vehicle, and we've got others that are kind of half as much. And the variation in rate on those two trucks within the business is probably only $20 an hour, but the outlay is significantly more. So I guess making sure that when we put that out to the clients, it's hitting in the right way so that they can understand it and see the difference, I suppose.
So some ways that's competition, potentially.
Yeah.
There's a few other
lot of
factors
it.
in there.
So I feel really weird, man. I can't work out how to turn this camera on. So I'm not trying to hide. A lot of our competitors will be out there with trucks that are, half or less than that in outlay. And that obviously they're able to run those at a much cheaper rate. So when you go and spend the money, I mean, we spent the money on a truck because it'll service us for longer, I suppose. So from a business perspective, it's much better, and from a capability perspective, it's a lot better. But if you've got a client and rings up and asks for a truck, you know, that they're not seeing the difference other than in the rate, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, they're buying the outcome, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they presume that
the job done.
Well, they presume that the outcome from I guess a truck that's half as expensive to purchase is going to be the same as the outcome from a dearer truck when there is a difference, a performance difference.
Yep, I know that one.
Absolutely. Can I just interject there too, Hugh, just in regards to the truck as well, I guess, and that comes down to like time spent on time too. I can go out and diagnose something in 45 minutes where a bloke in a ute will turn up with all his stuff just a mess in the back, and it'll take him an hour and a half, you know, so that comes back to cost savings there to the customer, that I guess they need to understand that, you know, if you've got the experience and you've got the organisation of your tools and everything, then you're going to do things a lot quicker than somebody else will who's looking for stuff all the time.
Yep. All right, well, let's pause there, and we'll just get the last couple of people, Mick Mick next, maybe then Kerry.
The main thing for me is I'm leaving money on the table. So when I'm pricing a job, I don't know, I've not taken enough time to actually price it, and maybe identifying certain things once I actually do the job. But I'm finding, okay, once I'm like, I could have charged more.
Yep. Okay. Without knowing, but yeah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Kerry?
Yeah, that's just the main thing for me, like how to identify, like it's just mainly for quoting and, you know, getting that price right and maybe slowly increasing the and how to, you know, slowly increasing. It's only for new builds, yeah. It's just all these jobs are quoted, and then as I'm doing the job, I'm like, fuck, I could have made an extra $1,000 a year. You know what I mean? Over the year, probably it adds up, you know. So
absolutely,
yeah. My next goal: how do I get that in the most efficient way without taking too much time in actually quoting the job? So yeah.
Sure,
probably simple, but fuck, I'm struggling with it at the moment. So
sure. Yeah. Last one was Kerry. And we'll get
so for me, I think I have a similar issue to what Mick was just saying about knowing the pricing. I'm more likely to go higher than lower, and I give. For me, obviously, because I'm not a tradesperson myself, I'm in the office, so I'm having a very different experience. So, and getting my husband, the tradie, in the office is my difficulty. So, me having to figure out even just small works, like over the phone, someone saying, how much would it cost to roughly to move a gas pipe from here to here? And I'll be like, okay, well, if I had a bit of a clue of, and so I try and work it out and say, okay, well, how much is it, like a meter rate or something? And the other thing I think I have issues with is if someone questions an invoice after, if they get a bit of bill shock, I don't have time or want to go through and itemize very well. So I'm more likely to just say, look, you're a great customer, I'll give you 10% off, and then pay it and be quiet. So because we don't have we're not really good at that, at having actually, you know, what it is. So we're more likely to discount than itemize. So
you itemize, then you have to discount to justify it, you're saying, or?
No, so I just won't itemize. So I mean, I'll itemize generally. I'll just say labour is this much and materials is this much.
Yep.
And then if they want complete prescriptive, which might take, you know, an hour or two, I'll be like, we'll just take 10% off.
Oh, you get it out of the way. Yep.
Just to get it out of the way.
Yeah, I understand.
Put it to bed.
So your question is whether you should be doing that or not? Is it there?
Yeah, I guess it's if things had set prices, making sure that we're charging appropriately across the board.
Right. Okay. Well, if I pull that, we're going to wrap a few of them together. We've got travel covers off about 4 people, right? So let's look into that. We're going to hone in on Tim, but they all relate to the same travel. So Tim goes to farms, does quite long travel, I guess you'd say. Is that right?
Guys are sitting in the ute for 45 minutes to an hour there, and we pay the boys they're paid all day. Some of the builders we work alongside, they'll only pay their guys one-way travel, so they come home in their own time. But our guys get paid from 7:30 to 4:30. So we've got to pay them to sit in the ute each way. We don't, at the moment, we don't do a discounted travel rate, an hourly rate or anything. We don't do it like probably the city guys do. Like Simon does a call-out fee to the job. We don't specifically do that. We just try and work a loop in if we can and share the travel for the day, but it doesn't always work that way.
So I'm just going to put it out there. So everyone who's got the travel issue, are you splitting it out as a separate line item on an invoice or a quote?
Separate.
I have done that in the past, but in more recent times, I've just kind of worked it out as a part of the total bill. Add it on if I'm there for say 4 hours, add on a little bit extra for my hourly rate and not charge travel that way.
Yeah. Okay.
We've done that a little bit as well. If it's $80 travel, we might just say we're there for 6 hours instead of 5 hours and hide the travel. I don't know. It's just everyone seems to have this thing. If they see the word travel written down, they balk at it and they want to pay it or something.
Sorry, Paul, I know in our industry, we just go depot to depot with everything. For the same reason, I found that early on that people balked at the travel, or they're wanting a deal on the travel, or they're wanting a reduced rate. And what I found was as soon as you reduce a rate, people think that you're flexible on it all the time. So I've found I've gone in with a stable rate, I guess low, but able to maintain margin and just hold it. And those who don't complain wind up being the ones who are on your client list, I suppose, or the ones that are happy to pay. For me, it came down to what kind of clients I wanted to have in the end.
Interesting one, Paul. Are you giving them a set rate, or is it a quote in this instance, or are you actually doing a job and charging them for the depending on how big the job is when you're there?
So we go depot to depot. So if we head out from here and it's an hour to site and we're on site for 7 hours and it's an hour back, that's a 9-hour day.
Yeah. I used to do base to base as well.
Yeah.
But I do a basic 30-kilometre radius now, and if I go outside of that 30-kilometre radius, then it's like $1 a kilometre, that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay.
So Paul, do you line item travel or not? No, it's just base to base. You don't even specify that. You just say we started at 9 o'clock and we drove there and drove back at 4 o'clock, and that's what we charge for.
Yep, it's an hourly rate for standard hours and penalty rates for overtime.
Right. So, Tim, you didn't mention it. Do you make it a line item on invoices?
I do generally. Well, we're a bit like Kerry, I think it is. We've sort of swung to labour and materials. So $1,000 labour and $500 materials. And we sort of hide the travel in there, but we do have proportionate customers that will call. And as opposed to discounting the invoice, we use Fergus, but we're going to shift to Simpro. It's relatively easy all the costs of the job are in there. It's not just a figure plucked out of the sky. So we can itemise the invoice reasonably easy. So if the customer asks for it, it can be itemised there.
Yep. So I think what a few of you have brought up is actually the reason there's a balking is because the customers see it. Yeah. And the cost to your business is real. And if I was you, I'd be doing exactly that. You'd be adding up how many labour for the whole job, including travel, and whole job, including materials, and you're going to add it all up. But it's the way the customer sees it. So something that Kerry brought up there that I know your video's gone off there, but Kerry does maintenance plumbing works, and some of the work she does is set prices and some's not. So the set price for unblocking a drain is a ripper, because they factor in the average length of time to unblock a drain, irrespective of how long it takes. So that covers off the having to justify travel a bit. And so Hugh, on your one, because you're travel too, so your jobs are bigger ticket jobs, aren't they? Well, not bigger ticket, but a couple of grand, $3,000, $5,000 jobs, I imagine. You're going to go.
Yeah, one to three.
1 to 3s. Are they quoted, or do you do an hourly rate?
No, I usually quote. I usually try and find as much information about what they're after beforehand, and then quote for the whole job.
Mm.
And then they usually okay that before I head off or go or anything beforehand. And then at the end, when I send all the stuff off and send the invoice, I've done both in the past where I've itemised it and broke it down to time on site, travelling fee, time editing, etc. And then more recently, I've just sent the quote with the final figure. And yeah, I haven't really had much backlash with either, but I've always felt more nervous about sending off the itemised fee, I guess, with, them being able to look and go, oh, he's charging this much an hour, or why is he's charging travel for this? Maybe I get someone else closer who won't charge travel, or,
Well, it's the cost. I think at the bottom line is what are you prepared to do the job for?
Well, that's it. It doesn't make sense to me, right? It's the same figure at the bottom. It's just whether I itemise it down or not. Or
yep. Okay. So quoting covers off a lot of your issues then, because you can just, reality is it's a one line item. It's $3,000 irrespective. Yeah. And I think that's where Tim Wilkin gets caught up. Just speaking out of place, because you do a lot of charge up jobs.
Yeah. So the quotes, the travel, we absorb it, it's priced into the job. But then, a bit like Mick, you get to the end of the job and go, shit, I should have allowed another bloody $500 per section of the quote so we'll break a house quote down into roof, under slab, whatever, and each part of that I'll put, if it's out of town, I'll add $500 travel to each section. But yeah, charge up job, you sort of don't have that luxury. If you go there for one visit, you charge them for that. If you go there for 2 visits, you charge them. A charge up job for us might be $500, or it might be $20,000 with 10 or 15 trips. It just depends.
So the joy you've got is, in some ways, as a charge-up job, they're not comparing prices, really.
No, they're just taking you on face value and trust you. And 9 times out of 10, they're a good, loyal customer to us, and there's no question. But there's that expectation that you're going to discount, or our vehicle is cheaper to run than what their vehicles are, or I don't know.
All right. So quoting's a ripper. Set prices is a good one. But I think in the case of your business, Tim, and maybe Barry's would come into this too, I think, maybe it's positioning a bit about, look, we can come out and do the job and charge it up, but it's almost like, how can we reduce the number of trips to your farm and make it almost like a talking point? Because you're going to smooth it out across all the jobs.
Yeah.
That's right. All the work you do, you're going to smooth out some travel, aren't you? You have to. And they're not even going to see unless they ask. So maybe if you, maybe it's actually something you discuss before you start the job off.
Yeah. I mean, like me personally, if I get a chance to get in the office and look at Hugh Bowman's job and go, oh, Hugh's good for us. We slugged him $200 travel. I mean, you might, the charge rate might be $1.10 or $1.20, but you might discount that down to, say, 80 cents. And then over the phone or something, you can say, oh, Hugh, we looked after you a bit with travel. So you're probably just losing your margin. But then it's back to what Paul said. You don't want to create that false sense where they automatically think you're going to drop your rate and discount it. So this is a hard one.
Sorry, it's Paul again. Tim, just on that, I would sooner pull back the hours for a client than drop the rate. I'd sooner say, listen, I'll knock off the overtime on that second day we were there, or whatever it is. But I've also spent a lot of time understanding how much margin I've got in my job. So I'll know that before I make that statement. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only way around it.
we're probably lacking a bit. We're just in the throes of trying to get some systems. We're trying to do the hit by the bus policy in our office. So we have a set of business rules, and it's a sheet of paper stuck up on behind the computer, and it says that it's a minimum charge to get us to a job, or it's $1.10 a kilometre, it's $1.50 if we tow a trailer, and then anyone, if I'm not here or whatever happens, it's just that set rules. And if you don't like it, get the bloke that's happy to work for nothing to do the job for you.
And that's a really good philosophy. So Paul said the same thing pretty much. These are my rates, and take it or leave it. So in some ways, it's a marketing thing, isn't it? You know, having enough opportunity out there of people who are prepared to pay your rates, and values your workmanship like that.
I'd be interested to know, Tim, what your competitors are charging and what they're like with the same scenarios.
Yeah, and that's like what Paul was saying, like our charge out rate, like we've probably been creeping it up. We've been going ourselves for 6 years now or something. And it's that fine line of meeting the market, like what your competitors are. Like we've probably got blokes that beat us on quotes, and they've been doing them for $30 an hour or something. Like I know everyone has different buying prices, and there's lots of variables with it, but yeah, like we have builders ring us and say, oh, they knocked you off by 20 grand or something on a house renovation, and you think that's not even
it's not worth it.
Cost of materials, or so it can be a race to the bottom, but I'm not interested in that now. I've got to a stage where I've got a steady stream of customers. I'd sooner go and sit at the beach with the family and have fish and chips than bust your ass working for
Here.
You mean come on a motorbike trip to Cape York, Tim?
Yeah, well, looking at it.
I've got a spot for you. All right. So Barry, with your travel charge to your distant customers, you coming back to that, you're the one who. It's about choosing the right customer. But I just found this graphic, and you know, if your fixed costs are $80 here and $20 your profit, but for cutting 10% off, making it cuts your profit down to $10, you know, there's 50% of your profit lost. You know,
can I just ask, for the guys that are doing the smaller jobs, are you trying to get your clients to pay by credit card on the site?
Yes, definitely.
That's the biggest thing that business improvement we've ever made, is just having Square app or something like that on our phones. If as soon as it's residential, they're paying at the end of the session whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
And that's changed things hugely. Most of our bills are paid within 7 days now. So because of that, so it's not doable for the business jobs and the bigger jobs, but all the residential stuff and the smaller stuff, it's only a couple $100. And I had a local electrician, a big name electrician in Geelong recently come out and do some work for him. It was only $150. Took them 2 weeks to invoice me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They hadn't forgotten that was just how slow their system was. So they could have had that money on the day if they asked me for a credit card. I even said, can I give you my card now? And he's like, nah.
Yeah, our cash flow cycles, about 40 days or 45 days or something for our.
And you're going to get that, 'cause especially with builders and stuff. That's the building.
We really struggle. Like to go out and look at, like, you're predominantly labour, I guess. You have a few parts, but we're really struggling with a system to get employees or staff to know the cost and to charge. I guess it's hard.
That's us too, having the same. So I can send the guys out with the square reader, but they would have no clue what the cost would be. So, which we're trying to get to the point where they will, and we're just getting to the point that we're getting invoices through a bit quicker and the reminders are going through quicker and starting to get more system.
And that's where your set prices come in, isn't it? If you've got some work that's set prices.
Yeah, that helps. That definitely helps the set prices thing.
Yep.
And also too, the following up of payments we're using. Yes, after 7 days they get an email, but then after 14 days they get an SMS or a phone call. That's made a huge difference because people just go, I didn't get the email, I didn't read it, went to my junk, that kind of stuff. You've got some clients, you can send a reminder after reminder, but until you send an SMS or an actual phone call, nothing's going to happen or change.
Yep, sure. So Simon, what's the market in the Gold Coast with respect to travel charge and breaking it out?
I guess, I'm feeling that out at the moment. I worked for a service company up here for about 3 months before I went out on my own, just to kind of feel the market out.
Right.
They're basically doing a call out, which is about $100. Then they'll put their labour on top of that per hour. And then if they've got to go any further out, they'll put a travel charge on that as well. And it's generally anywhere between $1 to $2 per kilometre. So it's pretty similar to what I was doing back in Geelong, but obviously a lot more competitive up here.
Yeah, so you split it out and people, you're not sure yet the impact of that.
No, that's right. So, like I said, I'll do a radius of, say, 30 kilometres, and I won't charge travel until after that.
Okay.
So that'll be outside my zone. I'll absorb it with the call out, the travel up to 30 kilometres, and that's kind of base to base. So you look at 60 Ks, and then on top of that, I'll charge it out.
Yep, I understand. Yeah, well, it makes sense. So your call out really covers labour and some vehicle costs. Yep.
Yeah, time to get there and your vehicle costs.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we covered that one off. You've had the same rate for 10 years. And this ties in with Mick's a little in the opposite way. So why do you think that is, by the way, same rate for the last 10 years?
I think once upon a time, the equipment we use, so just to be clear on that, the equipment I'm talking about is vacuum trucks, essentially. So high pressure jetting and vacuum units. Once upon a time, there weren't so many manufacturers of those. They were expensive and fairly specialist equipment. And I think as more builders or equipment builders entered the market space, they started doing it cheaper. So that's probably where it came from, actually. It's probably from the manufacturers. So people trying to do it cheaper, and your Chinese imports and that sort of thing are a lot cheaper than some of the other equipment. So the outlay got less for the trucks. And that allowed people to undercut and still stay very profitable. Because you're talking about a lot of your clients aren't educated in the difference between the equipment, I suppose, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. How do you? I know a fair bit of these big vacuum trucks too. Just they're worth between 400 and 600 grand. Is that very fair to say each? And interest rates are low, so more people have got them. But how do you differentiate yourself? Because against competitors, this is the guts of it. How do you differentiate yourself? And in the light that you probably, I'm guessing here, are you used to charging like man and truck equals, $300 an hour, a fixed rate? And how do you differentiate yourself between your competitors then?
I guess one of our advantages is, and bearing in mind I've only been here 6 months, but we're small. We offer, cable locating is complementary to non-destructive digging. some of our competitors don't offer that. We offer I would call it an authentic service, and we're fair. We're fair with our clients. We're not, if we can sustain, I guess, a good margin, there's no sort of point in gorging our clients, I suppose. So we get a lot of repeat business. I haven't lost a client here yet.
Why should I choose you over someone else who's got the same equipment?
Yeah, I guess probably more from we're a little bit more dynamic. We move a little faster, and we're a little bit more personal. So, and that's kind of the clients we're getting. We're not. Everyone down here in Victoria is chasing the Westgate Tunnel project, and there's companies down here that have got 40, 50 trucks, right? And they're all fighting over these major projects, and we're quite happy ticking away, servicing the guys that have been dropped for those projects in the background, and they're happy with the, I guess, the level of attention they get from us. They're not talking to someone different every time. We're all active in the field fairly regularly. So I do compliance and business development, but I spent the last 2 weeks shoveling crushed rock, on the back of one of these trucks as well. So I think that's probably our biggest advantage is, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but a bit more of a personal touch with our clients.
Yeah, well, you've said it exactly right. I mean, maybe it is a cliche, but that's the angle you've got to drive really hard is why should I use you? And,
yeah.
and this is the other thing I've seen in your sort of, well, I know you do a lot of things, but especially with vac trucks and things alike, is that you might have one that's got a really high flow pump and a bigger storage volume, and you can actually get the job done quicker.
Yes.
There's been someone that charges $20 less an hour, but it might take them 3 extra hours. And
that's exactly right. And that's where the education of your customer comes into it. An uneducated customer will go and, they'll be happy with the cheap price and never know.
Yeah. And so hence when you're talking that sort of machinery, it's how do you drive home overall job cost? How can you prove that? And how do you communicate that? You've got to be able to prove it one way, but you also got to be able to communicate that.
Yes.
And of course you've got your own personal brand on that too, which and other equipment you've got to complement. And I reckon that's how you prove against a competitor, because just because they've got the money or they've got the bank finance to get a big machine doesn't mean they're going to be overall job costs cheaper.
That's right. And you can't prove that stuff with marketing. You can't. You can look the goods, but you can't prove it with marketing.
That's where word of mouth marketing is going to be your biggest advantage then.
Yeah, well, I think you can. You have to. It's challenging. It's not easy. Make no mistake, not easy. I mean, this is where I reckon you've actually got to spend a lot of effort. Like I'd be saying, you need video proof and case study proof, and also to go to this trouble, you've got to. It's not a one-off job. It's actually a customer that feeds you a lot of work. You've got to be able to communicate that to them. And you might already have good customers, but how do you go to the next big customer that's going to feed you, a few $100,000 worth of work a year?
Well, that's the other thing we're finding too is some of our biggest customers are people that the rest of the industry's never heard of.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, we're not. It's not that we'd say no to the Westgate Tunnel project and things like that. It's more that there's a lot of work out there that's been overlooked for sheer desperation to go into these major projects.
Well, yeah, so you can, and I think Tim Wilkins there too, on that front, like with farms, no one wants to travel out to farms and have this open-end project very much. and I think Tim's going to make a real focus on it, because if you prove that we're all about, I'm putting words into his mouth, or what I'm putting into his mouth here, is that you have like a script or a business vision of saying, well, my aim is to be the number one guy who looks after all the big farms and does all their work, does a great job for them.
Yeah.
They will instantly go, you're the man for us.
Well, they're there for the long haul, like the Westgate Tunnel, like 22 or 24, whenever it finishes, that's done. So there's 50 vac trucks that are going to go and find new clients somewhere. Whereas if Paul's in the back box doing an NBN and this and that, you've doubled your client base, sort of thing. And
100%. Yep.
Yeah, if it shuts off or goes quiet, you hope you've got 50 clients, and out of that 50, 25 might still have enough cash to keep some projects going. Whereas, yeah, the Westgate Tunnel, once it's done, it's done.
Yep.
So, is obviously you've honed in on key customers, keep really close to them, know your margins, price such that it's valuable for your business, but finding new customers is all about proof, isn't it? Proof, word of mouth, testimonial, and proving that your overall job cost is worthwhile with your guys or gear, whatever the combination is, to compete against the newcomers or people with newcomers with lesser quality equipment.
Paul, how many of your competitors would have the same $700,000 truck as you?
In Geelong,
yeah,
I would say competitors or number of trucks that are here.
Competitors for the same customer, not the guy who's got the massive fleet that is happy to drive to Melbourne.
It's probably 50-50. So if there's, I'm just trying to think how many players there are in Geelong. There might be 8 of us. I would say 3 to 4 of the players have the same sort of gear.
Yeah.
But some of them have, whereas we've got one and maybe another one on the way, these guys are running sort of 4 to 20. So, but I guess the other thing is too, there's a tendency for some of our competitors to run into Melbourne and try and pick up those major projects, whereas we're quite happy to go regional.
Yeah, cool.
Just what I was thinking was, and I'm obviously not a tradie, so I don't get it as well, but I was wondering, obviously, if someone's using your bigger truck, even you would pay substantially more for that, I would think, from a customer point of view, because I don't have guys hanging around for 3 hours waiting for you to get out of the way so I can keep working, right?
Sorry, say that last bit again.
So if I paid, I would, as a customer, I'd be willing to pay significantly more for your bigger truck over your smaller truck, because you can do it a lot cheaper, which means I haven't got 4 tradies hanging around waiting for you to get out of the way to get to the next job, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's actually not that much dearer. We charge.
Well, I'm thinking it can be if it's in the quote that we can do it in 4 hours. Can you quote? I know this might sound strange, but can you quote with your small truck and your big truck to show how much more efficient your big truck is? Will that help you put your price up on your big truck more?
Yeah, but it kind of devalues the little truck, and sometimes we need it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No, I was just trying to think how you can show the value proposition and how doing it fast is going to save them time, because it's like, watching the roadworks all the time. You're always watching 10 blokes stand around doing nothing because they're waiting for some guy to do something else. And if you can do it in half the time, then that's worth $100 an hour more.
And that's more a conversation I'll have with them. Yeah, but you're right. It has to be explained. It's not something that's obvious or intuitive. You've got to explain it to your clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The same sort of issue goes with cranes and things. Can we use the big crane or the little crane, and they have different charge out rates, and which one will do the job? Same issues keep coming up with machinery. Should we move on? Because I'm just looking at the time here. Mick, leaving money on the table.
Yes.
Anyone got any good advice around there? How can Mick not leave money on the table?
It's most of the jobs I do, they're high-end architectural projects, yeah, like as well as multi-unit developments. So when I actually go do the job, there's always unexpected things pop up, and I want to work out a smooth system. I don't know, send out purchase order. I don't know what it is. So that, you know, obviously the builder doesn't have a fucking heart attack when he's, you know what I mean? And I just hate going over the quoted amount as well. Yeah, it's like I want to find some middle ground, you know what I mean? Like how do I first come off professional, but still, I don't know, slowly increase, because my prices they're in the middle. Like there's people that are cheaper, there's people more expensive, but I want to, and I love that concept of, if, you know, keep those higher paying customers, and if someone doesn't want to, if someone's not happy with that price, then don't have to work. Like I love that concept.
Do you write in variations, Carly?
Sorry, mate.
Do you write in variations? Like,
No.
to say, like, this is a set price, and if, you know, if there's no hole in this bit of RSJ that goes through here, or we find that we have to go through that, then that's a variation, and that sort of stuff. Like, do you write all that sort of stuff in, or do you have a set of spiel that covers you against any of those unforeseens?
Yeah, the only unforeseens I really have are if I hit solid rock, I've got to use extra crushed rock, or but it's just, you know, sometimes some builders are hard to deal with. They're booking everyone on site at the same time, and I don't know, there's just, as the project goes, there's always unexpected, like, oh, I've got to move that gas line here, I've got to do that. And when it comes to variations, a lot of the guys or charging a bit more, or maybe just seeing that at the start, I'm trying to work out a smooth way to do that without coming across, you know.
What do your caveats look like? What sort of your qualifications and your assumptions and that sort of thing? When you put a quote in, do you say, you know, we presume progress without delay, and we haven't allowed for, you know, rock and that sort of thing? Or
yeah, that's in the quote, but it's not. It probably has to be more detailed, or I'd probably just need to charge an extra, like, increase my prices by 10% at the start. You know what I mean? Like, for the value we do, like for the value I put in, like it's kind of like like you were saying, Paul, it's more of a personal touch. So I feel like, you know, I could probably charge more for the service like I provide. But I'm trying to work how, like, without coming across greedy, number one, and because they might say, no, fuck it, I'll get another plumber that charge 10% less, 15% less. You know what I mean?
Wow, you're within your right to have a clear scope and clear inclusions and exclusions. Because otherwise you're open-ended, and I reckon plenty of people fall into this trap where a quote just comes to, like, things get added on and added on and added on. You're going to go, well, where do I stop here? I can't just keep doing stuff for free in this job. You know, so and sure enough, if it's got no big time component, you might say, well, I'm happy to do a little bit, but that's where your opportunity is to charge more. So you're saying leaving money on the table. And the other part of what you mentioned is leaving money on the table is when you start getting knocked back on jobs, told you're too dear, you know, what's your win rate on jobs? You know, you're in the builder game. You know, when people start saying, no, someone else is a lot cheaper, that's when you start to know how much you can charge. Right?
It's true, yeah.
If you're thinking,
test the waters a bit.
Yeah, if you're winning every single job, you're probably too cheap.
I'm in the middle. I want to increase. I wanted to, like, I've got a couple of really good builders.
Yeah.
And I love that concept of, I'm going to set my price and that's it. You know what I mean? That's probably if I'm taking anything out of this, there's a lot of information here, but that's the main thing I'm taking out of it. I'm just going to set it.
Can you have that discussion with them and just say, look, you know, I'm doing all this extra work here. I keep hitting rock. I keep doing this. I keep doing that. You know, I'm going to have to start putting some, like, clearing up the scope a bit more. And then if that happens, then that's going to have to be a variation, because I'm just starting to lose too much money. Maybe just talk to them about it and see how they feel about it. Yeah.
Good one. And then that comes into Tim and Hugh as well. When you start traveling a long way, I'd be adamant about making sure you've got number of trips included in a quote, or that discussion's up front, because you say, I've allowed for, 5 trips will come out there, we should knock it off in a week. But if you're not ready for it, so the weather turns bad, hence you, the weather's bad, the light's not right, or the tanks haven't arrived because whatever reason on a farm, you blow an extra couple of trips. Like that knocks your profit margin very fast.
With those, I find, Mick, with those, like the variations, like you do, we don't sort of do much house bashing. We're just probably a bit like you, a bit of boutique sort of architectural stuff. And it doesn't take long to burn your hours up in your quote. Meeting with the architect or talking shit with the client. You're like, I should be doing
time. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
I find you got to put a bit of a dickhead tax at the go through do how long you think it's going to be. So you think that roof's going to take you 80 man hours, make it 88, and then that covers it, a bit of back office stuff. It allows you to take the rubbish to the tip, like all those little hidden things that. Yeah. Or they say, you get there and the builders walk over you as quick as. You've got to sort of call their bluff a bit. You're a skilled tradesman or professional as well. Like, just because they're paying you doesn't mean I don't know, I'm starting to not be a prick, but just stand your ground a bit and say, well, I'm as good as you. Yeah. Why is it up to you to dictate to me? So with I don't like doing variations because it's a heap of rooting around the office. I'll say, look, we can do a variation, but it'll be dearer. I might quote it for $100 an hour, or you say to them, look, we'll shift that toilet from one side of the room to the other. It'll be about $1,500, and you can do cost plus. Might be 1,000, might be 2,000. A lot of times they're sort of, as long as the customer's happy.
So you don't get them right. Do you get it? Like, do you send out a purchase order and get them to sign it?
Well, not if it's a thing like that. If the customer and the builder, if it's a meeting and they're happy. But it does get a bit grey. You've got to be dynamite on your invoicing. So if you do that, straight away, don't let it sit there for 60 days, because then they get to the end of the project, they get that bill shock because the plumber sends a thing out for 10 grand. They say, you told me it was 1,500. And so, that was before you came on site and told me to shift this, you told me to shift that. And of course we can do it, but it's at a cost.
Exactly,
And also being detailed in your quote. Say, I have allowed for 5 garden taps, not 4, not 6, 5. Where you want them, there's a bit of room in the quote. We can run it 20 metres that way or 10 metres that way. But this allows for gas. This doesn't allow to hit rock. This assumes that we can get fall from A to B. Really back yourself in, and then the builder doesn't have a leg to stand on at the end of it, because you say, I allowed that in your quote. I say, no, I haven't. Go back to the quote. It clearly says, if we hit rock, we're going to charge you cost plus or whatever.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're getting started with SimPro. I reckon I'm doing the same. I think that's going to help a lot, like labelling material, like exactly how much material is going to be in each job. Probably not exactly going to be here or there, but
so we use Fergus at the moment, and they're called favourites. So what I've done is I've gone through. It's probably not applicable to some people in this, but same principle. I've put my base range of materials, and I think that to rough that bathroom in is going to take 8 hours for me and 6 hours for an apprentice. And I go over the plan. I say, righto, there's 5 bathrooms here. So you click it 5 times, and roughly you've got you're covering your base. But then at the end of it, I might put an extra 4 hours on it or something.
Just to make sure.
That's all so there might be 150 line items, but I've done it with 2 clicks of the mouse, whereas previous I was entering those 150 line items. Like, you sit up to bloody.
That's what I'm doing at the moment.
So that's Fergus revolutionised us, but we've sort of outgrown it pretty quickly. So that gives you time. I won't hold it, but that gives you time then to be detailed with your description. So you've got the monetary value and your materials out of the road quickly with 1 click of the mouse. Then you can spend 10 minutes or half an hour and saying, we're doing this, we're not doing that, blah, 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 blah.
That's really good stuff there.
Tradie, and I've heard SimPro is really good. A Sparky I know down here, they ended up paying the extra like $5,000 or something, or whatever it was, to get them trained and everything. But apparently after that, it was all set. And for a time factor of and how long you do each individual time across all the jobs, I think it's actually kind of worth it.
But
we've
got one of our reasons for changing, we've got a guy that's sort of 3/4 in the field, 1/4 in the office, quoting jobs, and we're finding we're not getting a true. Fergus doesn't allow him to charge his labour to doing the quote or admin time. So we weren't not getting a true margin on what, if we win the quote, we've bloody paid him $300 to sit in the office and quoted or whatever. So that's one of our reasons. And we want to carry a bit of stock. We want to manage some stock. So that's why we're going to. It's dear. It's like, it's on distance.
Right. Well, we might pull up there because I know it's time ticking over. So I'm just, but we're actually planning on doing one on job management systems coming up, ironically. So I mean, I guess the aim was to hit off the biggest ones first, hence pricing. But if there's got other ones you want to look at, we can. Actually, this is the webinar program coming up. I was going to do the next one is going to be recruiting and marketing, tax, and things like that. But just, I'd be interested to hear, because you'll from all of you, if we could just do a quick whip around going, what was the biggest learning from today and whether it was worthwhile, just really quickly. And we'll get on to the, just one last thing I want to mention. I know, do you get something, do you want to go, Barry? What was your biggest learning out of today?
Good question. I'm still processing a lot of that, but I guess realizing that there's 5 other people here that have got the same problems, just in a different format. It's all to do with pricing.
Okay, Simon.
Yeah, look, I've taken a lot of stuff out of it, but something that Kerry said, just when you got the customer who doesn't want to pay, which I'm kind of in the situation with at the moment, well, I've just got that feeling, you know, and generally like that sort of thing. Just offer them, yeah, okay, I'll give you 10% off the bill. At least you're sending out an olive branch and you're doing something with it, you know. And for me, I'd rather get the 10% off than have them not pay at all and have to give it to a debt collector.
Tim?
Yep.
Tim, what was your learning?
Well, I'm the same as Barry a bit. It's sort of refreshing to know that there's other business operators out there that everyone has the same sort of hurdles and hiccups and management issues. We're not the only ones, I suppose.
Cool. Just pass on to the next guy.
Mick?
Found from Paul and Tim, firstly from Paul, hold your ground, set your price and hold it. Like, and if the customer doesn't want to use you, tough titties. And from Tim, holding the ground, like, you know, just with the builder, don't let him, you know, a fair playing field, not him having you by the nuts, kind of thing. Yeah, there's a lot of information, but those 2 things.
Cool. Just pass it on to someone. Hugh?
Yeah, it was good just to hear, you know, a few people talking about obviously different work environments and things, but some of the similar problems they're going through, and just even some of the things that you've been talking about kind of provoked a couple of questions in my mind that I've written down here that I've got to start figuring out as well. So just, I guess, talking about all this kind of stuff is always beneficial to keep your mind ticking over of how you can improve and go to the next step. Who's Kerry at the bottom?
Sorry, everyone, I had to jump off for a second before my doctor called me. Some things I really enjoy, well, firstly, absolutely knowing that I'm not on the single boat. There's a lot of people in the same boat. And I really liked hearing what other people were doing in terms of like the Sim Pro use. Sim, I really took notice when you said you charge like you, because we do the same thing in quoting, we break it up and say, okay, well, you know, sewer, you know, underground, blah, blah. And I like what you said about adding $500 travel per section. I don't think we do anything like that, so that's really cool. Yeah, it was really good just to get what everyone's doing and to hear your thoughts and stuff, Hugh. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. Is there anyone else?
Have you, Paul?
Yeah, I guess for me, the same as most of the other guys there. I'm not alone. That was good to hear. Some of the challenges, I've had some doubts about whether or not I was going about things the right way. And I've overcome some stuff in the past, and I can see some of these guys going through the same thing. So I felt like that I was a little bit validated and a little bit more comfortable, but also something you said, Hugh, in that I didn't think we could show our point of difference through marketing, and you challenged me on that, and it's made me think, well, maybe we're not marketing that right. So yeah, no, I've got a bit out of this for sure. I'm keen for the next one.
Cool. Well, appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm just going to share this again. Well, the next topic is recruiting, unless you guys get back to me and say you want a different one. You know, I'm open to it. And I'm planning, if you must know, I'm planning to run this on the second Friday of every month, unless it's a public holiday. And by the way, you will be on the invite for next time. And if you've got any other business owners you think could get value out of this, please forward it on or let me know. I'll get them to register. There is a registration link on my website. Yeah, you're welcome to do that. I don't want to have too many people on this call, but I'm sort of thinking between 5 and 15 is okay by me. And I'm going to shoot you this little Google link here. And if you, if so inclined, I'd love you to put a little Google review on. That helps my rankings and things in terms of SEO. In fact, I'll do that in a minute. And one last thing that a couple of you know about, I think Kerry is actually, I've done this with her. I've got a new tool that I'm trialing out at the moment which you put in accounting information, and it's got a whole bunch of questioning about, you know, whether you discount and whether you add on consumables and travel charges and the like, and it spits out the opportunity in your business. And in Kerry's business, we've got this little thing. I reckon we could find 100K in most business, every business, by this tool. And I've got access to it from February this month. And if you want me to run it through your business, I can. We did it with Kerry's. I came out at 100.
I highly recommend it.
Kerry's came out at 200, and I said that's a bit too much. Let's wind it back. But I'll leave it to you guys if you want me to.
Sorry, Hugh. What to do?
Oh, look, it's just it's like an accounting tool. It's a website. We plug your P&L and things in, and it's got a bunch of questions and balance sheet and where you use your time. It's got a whole bunch of strategies that I ask questions, which are perfectly suited for sort of tradesy businesses, all of you here. And it works out the opportunity, like in terms of cash, that you can extract. It might be to do with outstanding debtors, by the way. You know, that's one of them, is balance sheet items where your cash gap is too great. But then there's a whole raft of things. But anyway, I've got a bit of a guarantee out there that we'll be able to find 100 grand. If you want me to take you up on it,
to go through, and it really gives you a lot of insights that I probably wouldn't have thought. That seem really simple, but you see over a long time the kind of ripple effects that they'll have, it was really cool actually. So yeah.
They add up really quick. They add up really quick, don't they? I think we added 1%. Hugh's forgotten that we did it too. We added 1% to one little figure, and it ended up being 50 grand a year difference just by adding 1% to something. It's pretty simple, really, but very effective.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was Kerry's business, like we're pretty fully aware of what we thought's important in her business, what we should be focusing on, and that hasn't changed. But what I've done is made us a bit more laser focused on certain areas. I think that's fair to say, is it, Kerry?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for joining us, guys. Sorry for going over time. Next time I'll try not to do that.
All good.
All right, great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.